And I'll take you a step back to the fact that the 24th African Union Summit just wrapped up a few days ago. And Egypt, after a long absence, unfortunately,
is reinstated.
Yeah. How do you feel about the African Summit? And maybe I'll address the women in you, because one of the main agendas of that summit, I mean, this was part of the title actually of the summit, was empowering African women. How do you feel about that? And what can we as Egypt do?
I feel that the Africans are becoming much more aware about gender issues than we are, although we are African. And it's becoming one of their main issues and main points on their agenda. So if we take Rwanda, we always take Rwanda as an example. Half of the Rwandan parliament are women parliamentarians. Half of them are women parliamentarians. I think they have about more than half, 49% or something. I mean, they are on top of the list, top of the European and Western countries in their parliamentary representation. I think that we have ignored Africa for too long, and this was one of the, not the few, but one of the achievements of President Nasser at the time, is that we were very much present in Africa. And of course the Bandung Summit with the monoline movement, the Afro-Asian solidarity, etc. There were many movements that translated that feeling. For 40 years now and more, we have completely abandoned Africa. And this is a great loss for us, much more than for Africa. Because we were replaced by Israel and we were replaced by China. Both have taken our place over there. What President Sisi is doing now, I think, is very courageous on his part. First of all, that we were reinstated, as we said, in the African Union. Then this, if we succeed to have a cooperative, let's say, a cooperative relationship with Ethiopia, this will open up a lot of doors in the rest of Africa. We see that, you know, this controversy about the Nile waters, they're not very much on Egypt's side. Say that. So I think that this will play a good role. And I'm quite hopeful for that. Although people think that the controversy with Ethiopia just started with the Nile waters. It started much long ago. You know, it was on and off. But in the past years it has become worse, and particularly in the past government, the past presidency, who triggered, you know, anti-Ethiopian sentiment among the Egyptians. And this is what the Ethiopians, you know, have a hard time to forget. Everything that, you know, went into this supposedly secret meeting, but it was far from being secret because it was published the next day and distributed to all the parliamentarians in Ethiopia. I'm very much for this rapprochement, and when the Bishop Matthias was here, you know, he was the highest figure in the Coptic Church, the Orthodox Church in Ethiopia, I felt that there is a good feeling, you know, on his part. He really wanted relations to be better, on a better stand.
You met with him personally, I believe.
And I met with him personally, and what I told him is that there should be much more interaction between the civil society. Again, I'll go back to that, civil society, at different levels. Not only, you know, diplomatic or military and so on, but no, culturally, development-wise, etc. So we are a small group who have decided that we will go to Ethiopia in the coming weeks after the, you know, all this thing about the elections is over, the discussion at least, with Minister Arabi and with a young man who is head of the Egyptian-Ethiopian Friendship Association.
Okay.
He's the one organizing it. His name is Ahmad Samir. He's very active, and I look forward to that. Also, you must not forget that there is a great link between the two churches, the Coptic Church of Egypt and the Ethiopian Church, both of them being old Orthodox churches.
I believe they were one church and then separate.
Yes, and then there was a problem with the church somewhere in Jerusalem and so on, and of course the Israelis played on that. But relations are much better now, and as you know, the Coptic Pope Tawadros is a particularly wise person, knows exactly what to say, and his sayings, I think, will go down in history.
Yes.
So this is the soft power, the soft power that we have to play on.
But this is very influential power.
Absolutely. But we call it soft power
to the religious figures.
Exactly. The soft power is culture, is, interaction between, if you want, religious figures, exchange of students, exchange of, they need training in Ethiopia. It's a poor country. It's a very poor country. We should try to help over there. I know that one of our friends, I think it's Dr. Abdullah, I think he has a hospital there, or he's opened a clinic or something. Dr. Ebeid-E also is quite influential there and has links. Also, we have a big group of businessmen there. I met Mr. Ayman Isa. He's president, in fact, of the council, Egyptian-Ethiopian Council. He seems to be very enthusiastic for intelligence. So this, I think, will be our door, the opening door for the rest of Africa. But we have to have some footwork. We have to travel. We have to go and see. We have to, be much more active in our African sphere.
With regards to the fact that we are embarking on an economic summit, what do you think should be done? Right now we have a month or so left. What do we need to do?
We need to prepare a good agenda, that's to start with, and to be very clear about what we need and target who we think can help. But the main thing is to remove all the red tape, because this is what frightens investors.
This is what used to frighten. So we don't want to repeat the same scenario.
Exactly. We don't want to repeat the same scenario. Yes. We want to be quite serious about fighting corruption, because corruption is found everywhere, yes. But there are certain levels of corruption. And there are some countries who are much more serious about fighting corruption, and that's why they made it economically. Not only politically, but also economically. People think that the investors don't care and, they will pay a bakshish here and a bakshish there. That's not true. Yes. They prefer much more to deal under the rule of law, that everybody is accountable to the law. Yes. And here, of course, accountable to the Constitution. So I think that these things should be made quite clear to the investors. First of all, that they will facilitate, the red tape, as I said, cut down the red tape.
Easing regulations.
Easing the regulations. They should have a direct contact, a red line, if you want, so as to encourage them. I am part of one of these projects. It's called Ayadi, Our Hands.
Yes.
And this is mainly targeting the Egyptians abroad. I always felt that Egyptians abroad could be a great asset, not could be, are a great asset. We have experts, doctors, professors, businessmen, and a young generation that is absolutely fantastic. Two of them are new in Tahrir Square at the time of the revolution, and they are the ones who organized my talk in the States. One is called Kamar Mahmoud and the other one is called Amjad Naguib, and I was absolutely amazed by their professionalism and by the people I met. And lately, because it had died down, the enthusiasm had died down, but lately with President Sisi there is more trust, they do want to participate, they do want to help to really to build a democratic, modern, more equitable Egyptian state based on, the principle of citizenship for all. So they can help because they've lived in democratic countries. They know what it is. And Egyptians will be more open to listen from them than to listen from European or foreign experts.
Yes, definitely.
So I think if we facilitate, all these processes that they have to go through or they have to go through, and if we don't only think of them as their pockets only, but their brains, we have to pick their brains, because they're all very brainy, and most of them have reached very high echelons in the countries where they are, then really we can take advantage of this. This is what happened in China, It's the diaspora, the Chinese diaspora, when they came back, they helped to build China and to where China is today.
Yes.
Not only China, you have Mexico, I think, did the same, Malaysia did the same, and so this is what we would really like, and so I'm very glad that I am part of this project called Ebeid-E, and the project is all around the Suez Canal. There will be offerings there, for industries, for habitat, for schools, and